I'm Kat.
And I'm Haley.
And this is Night Classy, a tipsy night class teaching the oddities and curiosities you never learned in school.
Powered by a thirst for knowledge and boxed wine, we cover the most fascinating lessons in history, science, true crime, pop culture, and the paranormal.
What are we drinking for this learning journey, Haley?
We have a mixture. A little jungle juice if we mix it all together.
A little smorgasbord.
I have some wine, boxed wine. I tried a new brand. I don't know what it is. Bay Bridge. And you have an Angry Orchard, I see.
I do, but I'm about to be done with it. Here, let me drink this last sip.
Chug, chug, chug. Nice.
And then on the cue, which I need to open, which I'm not sure if I can open. I have a hard time.
She's got the claws on today.
I got the claws, except I don't have a claw on this thumb because it's split in fucking half.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you ran out of claws.
No,
I
there is a
see.
fake nail on top of it that I had to cut.
She gone.
Yeah, I'm moving, and so I'm carrying heavy stuff, and it has been snapping my nails. But anyway, it's called Dockside. It's a wheat ale from my favorite brewery in Memphis Made, and it's fine. I wouldn't say it's particularly good or bad. It's like a light wheat ale. It's very summery.
Okay,
It's
keeping you in
suitable.
check.
Yeah.
Reminding you of what you do like.
You may be my favorite brewery, but I'm not going to lie for you.
Hell
It's
no.
not the best beer I've ever had.
Honesty is the best policy. We're not trying to be toxic. over
Always.
here.
I would never be toxic.
Well, sometimes it's fun to be toxic.
It can't. When was the last time you were toxic?
I don't know. I'm just imagining. You tell me, Kat, when was the last time you were toxic?
I'm trying to think of... Oh, I was toxic when I accidentally gave away Kelly's furniture yesterday.
I think I was toxic when I said that I didn't take it, but didn't disclose information that you were asking whose it was.
Yeah, and you were the one who told me it was mine.
Yeah.
We had this TV stand, and I asked Haley, I was like, is this yours? Because I don't think it's mine. And she said, no, that's definitely yours.
No.
You did. You did.
I said, I thought that was yours because I distinctly remember you buying the TV, and I thought that you bought the TV stand too. And I remember clearly being like, do you want me to pay you for it? And you're like, no, I'll just take it with me when we move out one day.
Well, I remember saying that about the TV, and human memory is so unreliable because as soon as you told me that TV stand was mine, I suddenly had this false memory. I was like, oh yeah, it is mine. I bought it. And it's not. It's
Just
Kelly's.
didn't even check with Kelly.
And yesterday I kept putting shit on the curb and people were taking it. And then I really like giving people stuff. So I was getting excited to put stuff out on the curb. And there were these two ladies and one of them had just got an apartment. And she's like, what else do you have? And I was like, look at this. And it was the TV stand. And I freaking gave away Kelly's furniture. I felt so bad, but I already gave her money for a new one.
Oh my God.
Karma
That's not
came
even,
back for me.
I feel like this isn't even toxic. It's just stupidity on both of our parts.
We're just the worst roommates. Kelly's probably so happy.
Yeah.
She doesn't have to deal with us anymore.
Our stupidity is toxic. That's as
true.
close, I think, as toxic as we can get. Truly toxic.
I'm not intentionally toxic, but I do a lot of it stupid, inconsiderate things by accident.
Oops. Did I give away your TV stand?
I also made you sick, which that was pretty toxic.
Yeah, you
of me.
sure did.
But
literally toxic and disgusting.
Very disgusting, and I'm still sick. Haley recovered pretty
Yeah,
quick.
I bounced back. Because I've been, honestly, guys, I've been not wearing my mask out in public. It's true. As soon as St. Jude, which is where my boyfriend works, Tommy, as soon as they lifted their restrictions, I'm like, okay, if St. Jude isn't requiring it, I'm not wearing this anymore, and I'm going to go back to wearing makeup.
Yeah, I've become definitely more lax, which is how I think I got sick. And it's not COVID before anyone comes for me. I've taken multiple tests days apart, and I am still just freaking sick. So Alec is going to have to edit out me coughing, and I sound congested as hell. So have fun,
you sound
guys.
like SpongeBob when he got what is that? What was it even called? The suds?
Oh yeah.
And he had to have all his holes, what's it called, filled up with a cork.
Yeah, all corked up.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like that. I chugged Dayquil before I came to this recording session because I was I'll be damned if I'm going to be sniffling. Yes, a little scissorp. I should just mix it into this beer and probably would make it taste better, honestly. I don't like it.
Ew, nasty.
But yeah, so that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I've been taking pills like they're candy. I've got allergy pills. I've got Mucinex. I need to take vitamins is probably what I honestly need to do. And eat vegetables. That would probably help as well.
Yeah, I drank literally an entire half gallon of grapefruit juice today, and I think it has healed me. Like I'm still sick, but it made me feel a lot better. I think maybe I had scurvy. Like I haven't eaten vitamin C in forever. But it reminded me because this morning I was like, there's no way I can record today. And then I drank a bunch of grapefruit juice and felt better.
Yes, literally, I saw your first text when you texted me the second time saying, can we do it on Tuesday? And I was like, hell yeah, I get to like get the house in order. And then my heart was broken when you're like, never mind, I can do it.
I said that, and then I thought about it. I have to chaperone a field trip of middle schoolers every single day next week. For some reason, my school decided that to celebrate the 8th graders, we're going to take them on a field trip every single day for a week, which that's great. I'm happy for the kids. I would have loved that. But I have to go every day as an 8th grade teacher. Yeah, I think that might be part of it. And like, I love my 8th graders. They're all pretty chill, so I'm not worried about their behavior. It's just going to be exhausting. It's the Memphis heat. Like, we're going to be outside all day.
Y'all are going to be sweating your freaking asses off.
Yeah, it's going to be rough. And tomorrow we're going bowling, so that we'll be indoors for that. But there's a few days where we'll be outside.
Is this your last week of school?
Last full week. We get out in 2 Wednesdays.
Oh my God, you're so lucky, you bitch.
But your preschoolers probably won't show up for like the next 2 weeks, right?
They better not. No, I know they all will. At least my class will.
Oh.
This week is also like an activity every single day. And I am pretty sure we probably both experienced this in school. The field day anxiety. Did you hate field day?
I hated field day because I hated sports.
Yes.
And I'd be forced to like play tug of war.
In front of people too.
Yeah, it's embarrassing.
Tommy did not understand that. I was like, man, anxiety around field day is even real as an adult. And he's like, what are you talking about?
I never understood. People would get so hyped about field day. I hated it
with a passion.
And you'd be put in a group with like 6 people. And like, if you didn't have a friend in that group, you'd just feel awkward and nervous all day. And you'd have to play freaking sharks and minnows and bullshit
I'm not trying to run in front of people. I'm not trying to be wet from all the water activities in front of people.
The worst.
I should have just gotten in trouble, so I had to sit out the whole day.
That would have been the smart thing.
That would have been smart.
Yeah, I would have loved. Same thing with like senior year. Like, did you guys have to do a senior night where?
No.
Oh, we didn't have to, but like right after graduation, we went for like an overnight trip with our senior class, and we went to like Dave and Buster's or just like something dumb like that, but like stayed there all night and like they rented it out for us. It sounds fun, I guess. I hated it. I didn't want to go, but like you have so much pressure on like this is like an experience you'll never get back. I was fucking miserable. That was the worst night of my life. It's just
that sounds
dumb.
Awful.
Yeah.
I think our school had something similar to that, or maybe it was the year after I left, but it was something where you got to spend the night in the aquarium.
Okay. That sounds fun.
That would have been really cool.
I would love to just like lay there and look at fish instead of freaking bowl all night.
For sure. Yeah. I don't want to be at the grown-ups version of Chuck E. Cheese. Their floors are probably freaking disgusting.
Yeah.
And it's just not the vibe. An aquarium, however, that's the vibe.
Yeah. Fish are my friends. People, I could take it or leave it. Not food.
Yes, that's all I've got. I moved yesterday. Oh, I got hurt multiple times.
You got hurt?
I got hurt.
How?
So we're loading this chair with wooden legs into the van, and I'm at the back end of it, deeper into the van, and Tommy's like pushing from the opening of the trunk, and he pushes it, and it like breaks past a piece of furniture. Not breaks, but it like overcomes a piece of furniture, and the wood like leg hits me right in the nose.
Oh my God.
I have never like cried like that. I was crying, and he's like, stand up. And I was like, I can't stand up. You collapsed. I was already crunched down. Like,
I was gave you a concussion.
Yeah, well, then I hit my head. I came up too fast and smacked my head on the corner of the fridge, and I started crying then too. It was just a very intense day all around.
That is an intense day. And then you apologize for not making a TikTok. I'm like, you literally moved your entire life. You do not have to make a TikTok today.
Well, I just wanted to keep up our work. You know, if you're listening right now, if you're from TikTok, you found us there. Thank you for joining in. But guys, we've been working very hard to put a TikTok up every single day. So I didn't want to lose that momentum, but it was an eventful day.
Yeah, I'll be going through the same thing very shortly. I get my keys to the new apartment tomorrow. I can't wait. My car is already full of shit that I'm going to take over there. So excited.
You show up to moving day in like a full cast of your face, and you wear a helmet. You're like, I'm not going to let what happened to Haley happen to me.
I am like a little nervous though. It's my first time living in an apartment. That sounds so entitled. But like I've always had like a lot of roommates in a house, and I'm nervous to like have neighbors, you know?
Yeah.
Like I want to make a good impression.
Just make everyone brownies.
No, I don't bake. Also,
Well,
I don't
buy them
talk
brownies.
I don't my thing is that I don't talk to strangers, and I have resting bitch face. So like everyone thinks I'm mean, and I kind of am. But I don't want my neighbors to hate me. But I also am not going to go knock on their doors with brownies. That's not
Just
me.
wave to them then. That's all you have to do.
Maybe. I'll think about it.
Oh my God. Just wave to them. It'll be fine. And then your neighbors won't hate you. They may not love you, but at least they won't hate you.
Yeah, as long as they don't hate me. Because currently our neighbors hate us because of our yard.
Okay, that's not our fault though.
It is.
No, we don't have a mower, and it's the management that's been mowing, and they just haven't showed up yet. So we have a jungle as a yard.
Well, we'll be out soon.
Yeah.
And
then it's on them.
Then we need to clean it up before. Okay. And anyway, I think we're ready to start.
Yeah, let's freaking go.
I blew a .026.
I blew .000 because I was sober, but now I'm not.
So I'm going to go first. And this is a weird one. But I'm excited. So in July of 1894, the New York Times printed an article titled Cold Storage, Rats and Cats. It claimed...
I love a good rhyme. I love it.
Me too. Rats and Cats just sounds like a fake play, like a fake 1920s gangster play that would like be in a cartoon. Like, oh, we're putting on a production of Rats and Cats.
Yeah, and they all talk in like the transatlantic accent.
Exactly.
Hey there, you little rat. That wasn't it, but that was an impression.
Flawless.
Thank you.
This article claimed that a new type of rat had emerged that has specifically adapted to live in the cold climates of Pittsburgh cold storage receptacles.
Because no other rat can do what this rat is doing.
No, rats are notoriously like warm weather creatures. So.
I'm a warm boy.
They do have bald tails, so like I feel like their tails would get cold if they didn't evolve not to be cold.
I guess so, but that's not true. Rats live in cold places.
Yeah, I know.
Literally all over New York.
Literally,
in the subways.
like they're rats. They're basically like roaches. They will survive us all.
They're not rats. They're cats. Or cats. They're not cats. I don't even know what I'm trying to say.
You're doing a good job.
Thank
This type
you.
of rat had wool and fur to keep it warm, and a new type of cat emerged as well. It also had wool and fur and had adapted to live in below freezing temperatures of cold storage. This is a testament to the adaptability of cats and rats, according to this article. The cold storage cat was, quote, of great economic importance because it kept the rat population from eating all the stored food. Other news outlets saw this and ran with it. They picked up this story and it was reprinted. And as it was reprinted, of course, more and more details were added. Readers were told that originally rats came from Spitsbergen, all rats. And this is a place between Norway and the North Pole.
It is real.
It
Confirmed.
is a real place.
Okay.
These rats were fat with long, thick hair and furry tails. So naturally, when these rats came over on ships, they infested cold storage warehouses, becoming such a problem that cats had to be introduced to the equation.
You know, it gets confusing when the rat already sounds like it is a cat.
Yeah, they're furry. And like, I was confused about this because the first article said they evolved to be down there. And now this one is saying, no, they're the original rat. The cats were the ones introduced and they evolved.
Well, they were evolving. And then when they were finally ready, they came over on the ships to fulfill their destiny.
Right. They purposefully moved to Spitsbergen so that they could eventually accomplish their dream of being in a refrigerator warehouse.
Yes, there are multiple steps when evolving.
They had it all planned out.
Yeah.
Most cats couldn't stand the cold and died because now they're putting cats down there to fight these woolly mammoth rats. Quote, now it is well known that Pussy is a lover of warmth and comfort. Which, true.
They got one thing right.
Until one cat at the Pennsylvania storage company was put down there and thrived in the cold. It loved it. In 1895, the Pittsburgh Dispatch claimed that these refrigerator cats are descendants of regular, quote, fireside cats. So they're, I think, like saying all cats are fireside cats. They like the warmth, and they have now descended into these cold cats.
They switched up. They don't want you to know their MO.
Yeah.
They're sketchy.
Did you ever read the Warrior Cat series?
No.
It is like about these clans of cats, and in my mind there's like the fire cats and the ice cats, and they're like in this like war with each other in the city of Pittsburgh.
Yeah, they're definitely in a war with each other. 100%. What else are cats gonna do? Right.
They are little freaking demons. They said it was custom in these warehouses to round up all the cats at the end of the day so they could sleep in a warm room and be out of the freezer, because they're putting cats in there to fight the woolly rats. And then they want to give them a break, right? They're very kind.
This is all tracking.
Yes, it's all real. So, except there was one cat who, at the end of the day, when all the other cats would come running into the warm room, they'd always find this one fast asleep on an ice-covered cooling pipe in the 10-degree freezer.
Oh my God. He's like, I don't take any breaks.
No, this is like a cat that loves the cold. Another trait of these cats is that when they were brought in to the heat, they became sluggish, but the cold would rejuvenate them. In April of 1895, the Cincinnati Enquirer ran an article quoting an unnamed traveling man. I have a quote from the article here, and it's a pretty long quote, but I think it gives like a good summary of the alleged situation.
Okay.
He says, nature has made a kind of provision that animals that live in a cold climate have a heavy covering, said the traveling man. The extent to which this provision is carried out is shown by the experience of a firm in New York which owns a cold storage warehouse. They were troubled with the rats about the place, but could find no dog and no cat that could stand the degree of cold. Finally, a thick-furred cat was procured that lived, and subsequently a mate for it. A litter of kittens came, and it was noticed that their fur was longer than that of the parent cat. There have now been 5 generations born in the warehouse, and the fur of each a little longer and thicker than the fur of the preceding generation. Until now, they were covered with fur as thick and close as that of a muskrat. And when they move from the warehouse, they cannot stand the warm climate and soon die. It is a distinct breed of cold storage cats.
I love how they compare the fur to a muskrat.
What is a muskrat?
Who the fuck is gonna know? Be like, oh yes, I'm very familiar with the muskrat fur. I don't know. I picture it like an ugly chipmunk. That's what I picture when I think muskrat.
I'm picturing like a meerkat, but probably just because they sound.
We've got them in Memphis.
Oh, it's like a beaver.
Yeah, it is.
I've seen
it's
those
like
things
a beaver
dead
with
on the side of the road
with a rat tail.
Ew! It really does. It looks like a beaver that's pooping.
Oh yeah, nasty.
Ew, that is
but if
horrible.
you just focus on its eyes, look at its little eyes, like a little,
it does have a
teddy bear.
It has a cute little face. It kind of looks like Georgia, but that tail is.
That tail's nasty.
It's like someone took a beaver's tail and squished it.
Yeah, or like a massive snake is just biting
Ugh.
onto its bottom.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Yeah, put it away, Alec.
I once tried to
Never.
catch one because I thought it was a squirrel that was drowning.
You would do that.
Yeah, you're a squirrel boy from the get-go. You're like, oh, it's a muskrat? Fuck you.
So in the United States, all these like articles were being printed. These rumors were circulating of these refrigerator cats. Meanwhile, in Britain, a well-respected naturalist named Richard Lydecker was reading these articles. And naturalist was like an old-timey name for like a scientist that studied plants and animals. And instead of questioning the articles and saying to himself, can evolution happen in 5 generations? He took it at face value and printed a report on quote unquote refrigerated cats in a volume of Allen's Naturalist Library. And this was a respected scientific publication.
He's like, well, if it's in the newspapers, it must be true.
I mean, fair enough. Like, I cite newspapers all the time. For all I know, this could all be made up.
Times
I wasn't
have not
there.
changed. Yeah.
Really hasn't. The Spectator, which is a British magazine, had something to say about this decision. They, especially Lydecker's, claim that if these cats are taken out of the cold temperatures, they become sick and die. They're like, that's a crazy thing to say. The Spectator also noted that the freezers may be cold enough to stop meat from thawing, but they are not so cold as to, quote, induce such a change in the natural habits of cats. Fair enough.
Yeah, he's like, wait. When I said that they immediately die, I didn't mean immediately. I mean, somewhere between right then and 10 to 20 years from then coming out of them.
They get a little uncomfortable. Cats can't sweat, so, it makes sense.
It makes them uncomfortable.
They don't like it. The Spectator also wrote that this story probably needed revision, and the Salt Lake Tribune agreed with this assessment and published their own debunking. They said that this story being, quote, reprinted in England in some extent in some excellent scientific journals, which showed a great lack of caution in appropriating anything supposed to be new in science from a newspaper. So yeah, you shouldn't take your scientific evidence from a newspaper. It goes on to say it illustrates once more the English tendency to neglect the good and discover the bad in American affairs. Which I'm also like, though, how is a refrigerator cat bad?
Yeah, I was just
don't
wondering
get
the
that.
same thing. What's the angle?
Maybe there's just like a...
They're so overrun with rats.
Yeah.
They need cats in the fridge.
I think that might be it. And like, I don't know, it's kind of like gross and creepy to think that we just have like a new species of cats running around our freezers.
Yeah, they're like fur and wool. Are you freaking kidding me? That's disgusting.
I need a coat made out of that.
Yeah, oh my God, that'd be so warm. But one from a thrift shop, not a new one.
No. There's more than one way to skin a cat. But this did not dissuade Lydecker, who wrote about the cats again in his 1896 Handbook to the Carnivora, Part 1. So he keeps freaking doing it. In this one, he wrote that these cats are short-tailed, chubby, and have abnormally long whiskers that are 5 to 6 inches long. And this is an adaptation because in the cold storage, it's dark.
Yeah.
So the
you
cats have
gotta be able
to feel
what's
around.
you.
Yeah. Like bugs.
It makes sense to me.
He also said that bringing the cats near a stove could induce seizures. So
Okay.
he's just going all in. Eventually, like, this became such a problem with him making these claims that someone had to set the record straight. They called the secretary of the cold storage company and asked, like, is this real? What's going on? Which should have been the first thing
That's
anyone did.
Step number 1.
Yeah.
Yes.
The 1800s were such a wild time.
Absolutely. People were doing what they wanted when they wanted, at least if you were a white man.
Yeah.
And it was fine. Everyone just went along with it.
Yeah.
But now it makes for great podcast content.
It really does. I feel like we do a lot of these like Victorian era stories, but that's because everyone was freaking nuts. Like,
yeah, I feel like people's inhibitions really almost went to the wayside around that time, and they were just freely associating and doing whatever.
Truly, it's like when society becomes so uptight, like you start to go kind of wacko and start believing in refrigerator cats.
One step outside of the norm is probably the hardest step, even if it's a small step in such a strict society, like you said. But after that first step, the reins are off.
Yeah, you
it's
may
like,
as well
just
keep going for sure. And this secretary claimed that while the stories are an exaggeration, there is some truth to them. So this person said what really happened was a mother and her kittens were moved to cold storage to take care of a rat problem. So that checks out. Once the kittens were large enough to fend for themselves, the mother cat was taken back to general storage because they did have cats in the general storage for the rats. And this change in temperature was so sudden that she became just like kind of sick and sluggish, and then got better when they took her back to the fridge. And I'm like, they also took her away from her kittens and then took her back to her kittens. So that could be part of it.
Yeah.
And he also said that the cats living in the cold storage are larger, stronger, and have thicker fur than the ones living in the warehouses. And the American Naturalist, which is an American scientific journal, concluded that the difference in the cat's coats is kind of like cats' coats changing in summer and winter. It's not an evolutionary adaptation. And this makes sense to me because like with horses, they shed based on light. Like it's not temperature. And I assume other mammals are the same. When the days get longer, that's when they start losing their coat. It has nothing to do with temperature.
That's cool. I had no idea.
Isn't that cool? And with these cats being in the dark freezer, it makes sense that they wouldn't shed their winter coat. So basically, it was all an urban legend that was blown out of proportion, but it did not go away.
Can you imagine the email chain that could have been if that was the early 2000s?
Yeah.
That would have been phenomenal.
And we will get into early 2000s, like, myths as well.
Oh,
like,
cool.
There is one that I have for you that's like the same situation.
I'm fully
just
ready.
Like early internet people being dumb.
Can I ask a quick question? What year was this happening in?
This was like the 1890s.
1890s,
Yeah.
okay. Because Darwin, I looked up, did the origin of the species in 1859. And I was just curious if these were people that saw his notoriety of like, these crazy things in the Galapagos are actually real. Like, we can't believe it. And they were trying to like be like him.
I think at this time, the whole like Darwinism, like theory of evolution was very trendy in these circles. So, and people didn't fully understand it yet. So yeah, these claims that like, oh, they were moved to the cold, so they must like grow a bunch of fur and adapt to it. Like, it makes sense, I guess, why people thought this, but it's weird to me that nobody looked for any proof or tried to back anything up. They just
wanted to build on it.
Yeah.
It makes me happy that they at least sort of understood how evolution works.
Yeah. That part, it's not like God placed a fuzzy cat in the fridge. Yeah. So the legend resurfaced in 1901 when the Pittsburgh Chronicle-Telegraph reported on refrigerator cats being bred for a large cold storage facility in Manila, Philippines. According to the report, a pair of cats were placed in a room when the temperature was gradually lowered until it was below the freezing point.
You got to ease them into it.
You gotta dip your toe. They were able to withstand the low temperatures, and their offspring were even better suited for the cold climate. So people definitely aren't understanding evolution and natural selection. It's just like, oh, like, then suddenly these normal cats, because they got used to the cold, had offspring that could better withstand the cold. None of it makes sense. This facility went on to breed 15 more of these cats and distribute them to other warehouses. The article reports them being quite tame in the cold, but they become wild when exposed to warmer temperatures.
They're probably jumping out of their skin. They're
Yeah.
like, it's hot as fuck out here.
And they have to be shipped in baskets well lined with ice. So they have to
Oh
put them
my
in a
God.
little cooler.
Bougie.
Those poor cats.
I know. Well, they're not. This isn't actually
They're
happening.
literally just normal.
Oh.
Oh, it's not actually happening?
No, it's all an urban legend.
But I thought they were doing this with regular cats and just projecting their own.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
No.
Okay.
Not in this
So
case.
no cats were bred.
No cats were bred. It's just newspapers just print whatever they wanted back then.
They're like, yeah, they're pretty chill when we have them in the freezer.
Yeah.
There's their metabolic rate is like 0.
No, I think what happened in this case was probably some like newspaper, like some journalist was like, remember like a few years ago when we reported on refrigerator cats and everyone was like buying the newspaper? Let's write up another
bring it
report.
back.
They also said that in addition to mice, the cats were given milk and a weekly serving of meat. They were described as being short-tailed with long, thick coats. The cats then weren't reported on again until 1912 when the New York Mail ran a report on cats employed by the government.
Oh,
Quote, Uncle Sam maintains in the Philippine Island a small army of cold storage cats. Their upkeep costs the government about $15 a year each. And there's some truth to that because the government really does fund cats in some of their facilities, or at least they did, but not refrigerator cats because they're not real. And in 1949, so much later, a woman named Ida M. Mellon read these articles and she's like, I need to get to the bottom of this. Like, what was really going on?
finally, a woman to answer a burning question.
It takes a woman to be like, this does not sound right. Like, let's figure this out. She set out to investigate the refrigerator cat myth, and she did this by interviewing people that knew the cats in the 1890s. She found that no one was putting cats in cold storage because there were not mice in cold storage because it was too cold for there to be mice. Like, there are not mice in freezer facilities.
Bottom line
Is there's
even
no
true
cats
at any level.
Like, yes, they have cats in the regular storage, but no one was putting them in the freezer because there was no need. What did happen, though, is there was one cat down there, but it wasn't placed down there to catch mice. It belonged to an employee. And that cat ended up having a litter of kittens in the freezer.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Wow. That elevated so quickly.
Yeah. And these cats were white. They were long haired and they were albino. They had pink eyes. So I think just the fact that these cats looked kind of like polar bear cubs, like they were fluffy and white with pink eyes, like they looked exotic.
Evolution.
Yeah. It was like, oh my God, these cats were born in the freezer. They look fucking weird. Like, this must be a new species. And then the rumor mill just went out of control and we got refrigerator cats.
I love so much that was the fake news of the time.
Yeah. Right? And I mean, there's plenty of terrible things happening in the 1890s, but at least we got refrigerator cats from it.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So that's my lesson on refrigerator cats, and it was short, so I decided to look into 2 more cat urban legends.
Hell yeah.
And I have some more for you. So in the year 2000, an MIT student who went by an alias, his alias was Dr. Michael Wong Chang, launched a business website called Bonsai Kitten. And on this website, you'd go to their webpage. It instructed readers how to raise a kitten in a jar so that its bones would mold to the jar as it grows, and you could keep it the same way as a bonsai plant.
But why would you want to do that?
Well, no one would. You can't keep a kitten in a jar.
I guess so. But some people's, the way their brains, how they go places is interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. So on the website, it had pictures of kittens in jars as real examples of a, quote, lost art. The website was purely a joke. It was never meant to be taken seriously. Quote unquote, Dr. Chang says he created it as a statement about how the world increasingly sees nature as a commodity, which like, okay, like I don't know that your point fully was made, and people definitely didn't get the joke. They saw this, and it was featured one day as a, quote, cruel sight of the day on cruel.com.
Oh,
which just gives me nostalgia. Remember how weird the internet was in the early 2000s, and just like these strange websites, and you just go on there with your friends, and you didn't like go on Facebook or MySpace. You just went to these weird like back alley websites covered in ads and viruses. Yeah. And I imagine this site was the same.
Just no issue. Did you ever text Cha-Cha?
Yes. I love texting Cha-Cha. Did you ever do Peter Answers?
No.
It was this weird site. Let me see. I think we may have even talked about it on this show before.
I'm getting deja vu.
Peter Answers Virtual Tarot. And you like type in your question and then he answers you. And I used to get so creeped out by it. But that was like the kind of shit you do on the internet. But anyway, it got posted on this site, cruel.com, and people saw it. They thought it was real and they freaked the fuck out. Animal Welfare Institute and the ASPCA were flooded by complaints. People saying like, you have to do something about this. People are raising kittens in jars.
Yeah. That makes sense to me. I wouldn't immediately think that it wasn't real.
Obviously you can't, because these pictures, it's like the kitten grows in the jar and then like becomes like jar shaped. Like, who would think that's real? That's so dumb.
I don't know. At first I was like, I forgot that it was you were setting it up to be a joke thing. And I don't know, that's alarming when you first see that.
It is alarming for sure. And like,
it's like there are people out there who want to hurt animals.
Yes. And that's kind of the problem, I think, with like, because the animal welfare groups had to put out statements. They're like, this is not real. This is not actually happening. But it's still a problem because people could see this and try it. And it also, like, according to them, encourages animal abuse. Which, like, sure, I guess if you're really stupid and a terrible person, you might try this. But, like, I don't know. It just seems like it got blown way out of proportion.
I know it's a small percentage of the population, but like I said, there are people who enjoy, doing things like that.
Yeah, but I also feel like those people are abusing animals already. Anyway.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just saying it could give ideas.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Maybe try growing a rock in a jar instead of a cat in a jar. How about that? You water every day, give it sunshine, speak positive affirmations to it. That would be a good website.
Did you ever have a pet rock?
No, I didn't, but I had a two-sided rock that I painted and put googly eyes on.
That's
just
fun.
Flipped it depending on how I felt that day.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
I listened to the Weird Al song I bought on eBay and would watch like the video on it, and in the song he mentions a pet rock, and that was the first time I'd heard of a pet rock.
Really?
So then I was like, I'm gonna have a pet rock.
You have to have a pet rock after that. Yeah.
And I chose a rock, and it was like I
what
took
was its
it
name?
Everywhere with me. I don't know its name, but I drew a little face on it with a Sharpie, and I made it a little carrying case.
Cute. I had a rock that I carried around in my pocket every day, and it was like a gratitude practice.
Mm-hmm. That's fun.
Yeah.
Was it smooth?
No, it wasn't.
Oh.
It was like kind of a little bit jagged.
Was it
pretty
was
small.
It special looking?
It was like this. It was like that big.
Okay.
Yeah.
A little pebble.
A little pebble guy. Yeah.
The website was removed, but that didn't make people let up. Things got so bad that the FBI launched an investigation into animal cruelty complaints.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. That's too far.
It's way too far, but that's the last of the information I could find on this.
The FBI classified it all. Turns out it's true.
Yeah. That would be crazy. No, I think that they probably were just like, how they have to. Did you see the girl on TikTok who she tweeted that she was going to burn Nickelodeon down because JoJo Siwa was not invited to the Kids' Choice Awards after coming out as a lesbian?
No.
And she just tweeted that and then got a call from I think it was just the New York Police Department, but they're like, I know this is dumb, but we have Nickelodeon called us and we have to follow up with this. just answer a few of their questions. But I feel like it was kind of something like that where the FBI just got so many complaints that they're like, okay, we just have to like
to pacify the public.
Yeah, just like be like, are you actually growing cats in jars? No. Okay, cool.
Just checking.
Just checking. And then the last thing I want to talk about is the White House demon cat. Have you heard about this?
No, but I already like the sound of it.
It's very fun. The demon cat, sometimes referred to as DC, is a ghost cat that stalks prominent federal buildings in Washington, D.C. In the mid-1800s, cats were brought into the basement tunnels of U.S. Capitol building to help out with a mouse problem. The legend goes that one of these cats never left.
Dun, dun, dun.
And that people have been like citing this ghost cat like ever since in the U.S. Capitol building and the White House. I already read that part. Let's see. Its rumored home is the burial chamber for George Washington, which is in the basement of the Capitol building. And he was never actually buried there, but it was like dug out to put him in.
Oh,
I don't know why.
Where's he at now?
Probably just in like the
probably
cemetery
just in
or
the woods.
I assume they put all the presidents in like one cemetery. I don't know. I don't know shit about this.
I don't freaking know. That's why I asked.
And also, who cares? But yeah, he was supposed to have like a weird little crypt, and then they were like, this is weird. This is not ancient Egypt. Like, let's not put him in.
But there are
the
plenty
basement
of people
building.
in the mausoleum underground at DC.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Like, what's her name? Not Helen Keller. Yeah, Helen Keller's down there.
Okay.
She's the only one I can remember, but I distinctly remember being down there. Yeah. I remember being down there on our little 8th grade DC trip and being like, this is spooky.
Spooky. Did you see
like, I want to see the bones.
Yeah.
No, but I wanted to. I wanted to see that. I wanted to see their bones because I feel like if I'm so close to someone's corpse, I want to see it.
Yeah.
Don't hide behind the coffin.
That's true.
Bitch, fight me.
Yeah, they should make like little windows.
Yes.
They
So Washington is buried at his home at Mount Vernon in Virginia.
Okay.
Oh,
that makes sense.
I think I've been there.
Okay. Cool. The cat is usually reported as tabby patterned, but some witnesses say it's black. The first recorded sighting of the cat was in the U.S. Capitol basement in 1862. And at the time, the space was being used to feed soldiers during the Civil War, and it was reported to be seen multiple times. An 1898 Washington Post article reports that the cat initially looks like a regular-sized house cat, but quickly expands to be the size of an elephant.
Oh. He's a grower, not a shower.
He is a grower. And I saw these articles kind of trying to explain this, and rationalize it, saying like, oh, the guards used to get drunk down there and they'd pass out and then they'd wake up and there'd be a cat in their face and like they'd think it was bigger than it was.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't.
Perspective.
Seems like a strange way to like explain it, but sure, maybe. In 1935, the Washington Post published another account that the demon cat's eyes, quote, glow with all the hue and furiosity of headlights of a fire engine.
Ooh,
So
that's
fun.
scary. I like the word furiosity.
Yeah. Furiosity.
Furiosity.
Aw.
Furiosity killed the cat. It's a victim.
So it's usually seen in the basement of the Capitol building, but sometimes it is seen on the first floor of the White House. And when that happens, it's said to foreshadow something bad.
Has it ever foreshadowed something bad?
Yes. So according to legend, the cat appeared just before the 1929 stock market crash.
Oh.
And it appeared again before JFK's assassination in 1963.
Two pretty bad things.
Two bad things, yes. And
He's killing it. 2 out of 2. 2 for 2.
I know. I wish there were more examples. It's kind of a letdown. It's the rule of threes. There should be one more.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't it appear before COVID?
Oh, that is a great question.
That's-
I would like to know.
Me
But
too.
I mean, for us, like we've said before, we've been part of a select few that COVID has been, had some good
Don't
consequences
say
for
that.
us.
1 million people died.
Well, I'm not saying that that's good for us. I'm saying that we got time to work on the podcast.
We did,
and
yeah.
that we
were
had-
very fortunate
Yes.
to still have like jobs during COVID, and
I'm not saying it was great.
No, I know
I'm
you're not saying that. I just don't want it to come across that
I'm
way.
not a COVID sympathizer.
So the cat predicts things, and the last official sighting was just after World War II in the 1940s, and I don't think there's been any official sighting since, at least not that I could find easily.
He got old.
He's retired. Yeah. Good for him. And that was my lesson on refrigerator cats and a couple other things to make this long enough.
Wow, thank you for that. I thoroughly enjoyed going down memory lane and learning about rats and cats.
My sources are the Pittsburgh Refrigerator Cat Wikipedia page, an article on messybeast.com called The Pittsburgh Refrigerator Cat, Lost Breed or 19th Century Urban Legend by S. Hartwell, the Bonsai Cat Wikipedia page, whitehousehistory.com, and the Demon Cat Wikipedia page. Shout out to Wikipedia.
Thank you so much, Wikipedia.
We'll hear a word from our sponsor. We'll be right back.
This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp.
There have been a lot of life changes for me now and in the near future. I know for you too, career-wise, and for me, possibly career-wise, and then just moving, and it's the end of an era, and I've been feeling stressed and sentimental, and it can be so helpful to talk to someone who is removed from the situation.
Absolutely. And the chaos that we experience in our day-to-day life, but especially when there's change coming, it really helps to center yourself and be able to talk through all the things that you realize, or maybe you don't even realize, are giving you anxiety. And stress kills, y'all.
It really does. And we know that without a healthy mind, being truly happy and at peace is hard. Not impossible, but hard. The good news is that therapy works.
And thank goodness for that, because BetterHelp has your back for whatever you need. It really is time to stop being ashamed of all of these normal human struggles that we all go through. And it's time to start feeling better, because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help.
BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you do not have to see anyone on camera if you do not want to. You don't have to be in person. You don't have to put on pants. Just please keep the camera waist up if you're doing those video chats. And you don't have to leave your freaking house. It's the best.
It's my favorite thing to do. It's much more affordable than your in-person therapy. You can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours.
Join the millions of people who are seeing what online therapy is really about. It is always a good time to invest in yourself, because you are your greatest asset.
And special offer tonight, classy listeners, you can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/classy.
That's betterhelp.com/classy. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode. And don't forget, when you support our sponsors, you support us. So please, if you do use BetterHelp, do not forget to use that code CLASSY.
Thanks in advance. Welcome back, bitches.
Hello.
Let's go on a learning journey.
I'm ready.
Trigger warning for gun violence.
I started us off on such a happy note, and you just have to bring us down into the ground.
You're going to see why. You're going to see why, and you're going to say, okay. Okay.
Okay. All right.
On May 5th, 1894, in Sumner County, Kansas, a man named Thomas McDonald shot and killed a man named Thomas Patton. Thomas McDonald was the tenant of this guy named Anderson Gray. Anderson Gray was a wealthy farmer in town who had some properties, and he was also the neighbor of Thomas Patton, the guy who got murdered. Okay. So there's Anderson Gray, wealthy farmer, who's the neighbor of Thomas Patton, who got shot by Thomas McDonald.
Okay, and he's the tenant of Thomas.
Of Anderson.
Anderson.
Yes. Anderson Gray at the time was actually involved in a lawsuit for which Thomas Patton was a witness against Anderson Gray. And Anderson reportedly wanted to get Thomas taken care of. Anderson Gray told Thomas McDonald that Patton was spreading scandalous reports of McDonald's wife sleeping around town. The men got into a screaming match, and eventually things did fizzle out, and McDonald went to talk with Anderson just to get things off his chest. And that actually started a whole plan that Anderson had. Anderson started a hypnotic exercise with MacDonald and suggested that Patton was extremely dangerous and the quarrel between the two men was not over. And the only way for MacDonald to save his own life was to kill Patton first. At first, MacDonald rejected the notion, but Anderson placed a gun in his hand and had him start practice shooting. MacDonald was a terrible shot at first, but under Anderson's influence and after an hour of practice, MacDonald was hitting the mark. This is when Anderson led MacDonald to a spot in the woods that Patton, the guy that Anderson wanted MacDonald to shoot, passed every day on his way home. So right on schedule, Patton rode by and MacDonald fired the gun, piercing Patton's heart and killing him. Suspicion instantly led police to MacDonald, his wife, and Anderson Gray. They were all arrested, and after 3 weeks in jail, MacDonald couldn't bear to see his wife suffer any longer, and he confessed to the crime, but also confessed that he had been under a hypnotic state.
Oh, you're into the hypnotics. Is this a lesson on hypnotism?
It is.
Yay.
I said I was going to do it, and I love getting a decision made early on. So this is it.
Yeah, we always say picking a lesson is the hardest part.
It is.
So when it's done for you,
but
I'm
so excited, though, because in my research about hypnotism, I found another topic to do next week. So I'm just freaking stacked,
on
man.
a roll. Stacks on stacks.
Stacks on stacks. Anderson was actually first to be placed on trial as the accessory and the hypnotizer. He was later found guilty of first-degree murder, even though he was not the man who shot Patton, and he was sentenced to death by hanging. MacDonald stood trial as well, and Judge Beckman tried the case on the theory that MacDonald was in fact in a hypnotic state and therefore had no control over his actions. After 3 hours of deliberation, the jury returned the verdict of not guilty, and he was acquitted.
Did they ever at any point be like, okay, now hypnotize him again? Like, let's see if this works. Yeah.
No,
what?
They didn't. They were just like, okay, he was hypnotized. Check. I feel like that was almost like a checkbox on official forms in the 1800s.
I feel like they just liked the other guy better.
Probably so, especially if this Anderson guy was someone who was he's already in a lawsuit. Mm-hmm. He's going to this guy and telling him that everyone's spreading rumors about his wife, sleeping around. And he's just a troublemaker, it seems. I don't have any other evidence to support that other than literally what I just said.
Yeah.
But the court was definitely in MacDonald's favor that day.
That's so wild. And was he known to be able to hypnotize people?
No, not that I know of.
And when was this?
This was in 1894.
The 1890s. People were going off.
Wild. You're hypnotized. You're hypnotized. You're hypnotized.
And then a refrigerator cat is like over there in the background.
Yeah, just
hypnotizing the rats.
Yeah. That's actually how the fridge cats came to be. The freezer cats came to be. You get a little hypnotism here, hypnotism there. You do some breeding here, breeding there. You get freezer cats. Freezer cats, cats and rats.
Keep going.
She's hypnotizing you. Don't listen to her.
I can't keep going. Okay. Although hypnosis, the term was coined in the 1840s by a Scottish surgeon named James Braid, the practice is literally ancient history. In India, the Vedic culture set up sick people into temple sleep. Similar practices can be found in ancient Greece, in ancient Egypt. In 1500 BC, I should have practiced the pronunciation. Imhotep. You know him? Familiar?
Yeah, my favorite.
I thought you might, since you covered King Tut in one of your lessons a long time ago.
Is.
Anyway, he was a physician for the pharaohs, and he talked about, we think anyway, he wrote this document that was found in some tombs talking about using hypnosis as a treatment for pain with the pharaohs. So James Braid actually started his hypnosis pioneering journey after he saw a demonstration of mesmerism, which we covered last week, also known as animal magnetism. And when he saw this demonstration, he was, I think, kind of skeptical at first, like you probably would be, but he was watching the subject's eyes very closely and really all of their characteristics, but particularly their eyes and eyelids. And he was like, man, they're like out of this world. He came to the conclusion that they were simply in a different state and wanted to use this practice more on his own and expand upon it. So James Braid went on to become the most influential pioneer of hypnotism and hypnotherapy and is considered today the father of modern day hypnotism.
Are you going to get into if hypnotherapy is like works?
I'm going to talk about the science of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I've always been curious. Did you ever watch those commercials? It's like, are you trying to quit smoking? And then you can get like hypnotized to help you quit smoking.
The jury is out. Yes, I've seen those commercials. The jury is still out on hypnotism and quitting smoking, but it has been found to be beneficial in other things, such as reducing pain before surgeries and having quicker recovery rates for people coming out of surgeries. There's also something that I'll touch on. I don't really have much on it, but there's something called hypnobirthing.
Whoa.
Yeah. And a core belief of this method is that the pain from labor is linked to a preconditioned fear of the experience. So if you kind of like try to focus on everything but that and let go of those fears, then it apparently leads to a more pleasurable birthing experience.
That makes sense. And I'm not saying giving birth doesn't hurt, because I'm sure it hurts a lot, but there is like evidence that pain can be mind over matter.
Yes.
Like on that show Alec and I have been watching, Science or Magic for Humans, they did like this one thing where you were sitting on a table with your hand out and your hand was behind a screen and there was a prosthetic hand in front of you, and eventually you started to feel what was being done to the prosthetic hand instead of your own hand. And he like stuck a needle in the guy's real hand, but like he was, in his mind, the prosthetic hand was his hand, so he didn't even feel it. So I think there's like some truth to that, like in very specific circumstances.
Yes.
Maybe you can't, like pain can be mind over matter.
Yeah, I fully agree. And I would even argue that that is a state of hypnosis.
Definitely. Oh, I think it is too.
Because I think that hypnosis is not maybe what we picture it to be in Hollywood with like the swinging of the watch. You don't even need a watch to be considered hypnotized. And some people believe that we are hypnotized just by ourselves 2 to 3 times a day. A few examples given are like if you drive to work and you get there and you're like, oh my God, I don't even remember driving to work or driving home. Or you're brushing your teeth and all of a sudden you're done and you're like, whoa, I was just on autopilot. Things like that can be considered hypnotist. It's where you're in this like almost trance state, possibly running on autopilot or just very focused on a very specific thing. So I totally agree. The pain can be mind over matter, and it has been founded in this hypnobirthing technique,
which wild.
Is absolutely wild. And let's see here. So back to my notes here. Braid believed hypnotic suggestion was a truly valuable remedy, and even the Roman Catholic Church had to address misconceptions around hypnosis because people were saying that it was linked to the devil, which
people think everything's linked to the devil.
Understandable, yeah.
How is that understandable?
When everything's getting linked to the devil, of course you're going to think that hypnosis is linked to the devil.
Yeah, people think like anything outside of what they've always done
in the Bible. Yeah. And I thought that was kind of surprising because they debunked this in 1847, which is not really what I would have expected. I wouldn't have
they were on like the devil train.
Yeah. I wouldn't have thought they would have said anything at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they said hypnosis is, quote, not morally forbidden, provided it does not tend toward an illicit end or toward anything depraved.
Okay.
So support or lack thereof really depends on the denomination, but in general, it seems like churches accept hypnosis, but they're also like not encouraging it. So in the 19th century, hypnotism became super mainstream, or relatively, depending on where you were, and was accepted by the American Medical Association and the British Medical Association. Although there have been hiccups and misconceptions, such as, people getting wrongfully convicted after a witness or a victim was hypnotized and led to a false statement, it is still embraced to this day, and it seems like there's a lot of research that is going into it, but we still need more. And just like you said before, it is used to reduce, but also just manage pain. I learned that they used hypnosis a lot in the Civil War before amputations.
Oh, God.
Yeah. They're like, okay, chug this whiskey, bite this spoon, and you're getting very sleepy.
I feel like have you ever been hypnotized?
I have tried to go into like an what's it called, like an altered state,
like
on
your own.
Yeah. Have you been hypnotized?
Yeah, I've been hypnotized twice. Once was actually on my senior graduation trip that I talked about. They had a hypnotist come, and the second time was in college. There was this woman that used to come into the coffee shop who was a hypnotist, and she invited me to her show, and I went and I got to go on stage and be hypnotized. But I am not very easy to hypnotize because I can't fully give in. You have to really be able to focus and give in to be able to fully be hypnotized. And I am so reserved that I kind of hold back. So it's never really worked on me, but it requires so much focus and open-mindedness that I feel like I'm just imagining doing that when you're being traumatized and about to have your leg amputated. I don't even know how that's possible. You'd have to be really dedicated.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. And I was going to say this at the end, but the more research I did on hypnotism, not the necessarily woo-woo or Hollywood hypnotism that you see, but just the trance-like state, it reminds me a lot of meditation and getting into that realm of a different state of consciousness almost.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to try doing self hypnosis. And I think a common misconception is that you are out of control or that you're unconscious. That is not true. If that's happening to you, you are not being hypnotized. You're being drugged.
Yeah. Every time I've done it, when it's worked for a second, you're still conscious. You can come out of it if you want to.
What does it feel like?
It just kind of feels like I don't know. For me, it felt like I was really trying to, because they'll hypnotize you and then kind of give you instructions, and it kind of feels like when you are dreaming and it's a dream, but you're enjoying the dream, so you keep going with it.
Yeah.
That's, I think, the best way I can describe it. It's I knew I was being hypnotized and I could stop at any moment, but it's you're not fully awake, and so it's kind of fun to just lean into it.
Yeah, and be able to be conscious and see where your brain takes you almost. Yeah. That's cool. We need to try it.
It is fun. We should go to a show. A lot of times, because the show I went to, she was opening for a comedian, and a lot of times hypnotists will open for comics. Tommy probably has had hypnotists open for him before.
Probably.
We should go next time that happens.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
I thought about doing because there's so many exercises on YouTube to do hypnosis, but I just ran out of time because, moving.
Yeah, it happens.
Today, clinical psychologists think hypnosis only seems like drowsiness when it's an actual focused psychological state, like I said, similar to meditation. And clinical hypnosis is not the flashy version we see on TV. It's really just about that focus. It typically takes place in a dimly lit, quiet room. And the trope of the swinging watch is just a Hollywood creation. But eye fixation is very important to a hypnosis, or at least it was. But now clinical psychologist knows that it takes nothing more than a voice. So you can just follow along with those YouTube videos. It seems like it could be pretty relaxing. But at the same time, I think there's that other side to the coin where I'm pretty sure not all 50 states have outlawed hypnosis, like forensic hypnosis. I saw something, I don't know, it wasn't from 2022. It was an article from 2019 that was talking about how Texas and law enforcement in Texas is still using hypnosis.
That's so wild. Didn't they use it during the Satanic Panic to get the kids to confess?
Oh, yeah. Big time. And even into the 90s, they did. It's a pretty recent development to have the courts outlaw hypnosis.
Yeah, and it's like, obviously, like when you're being hypnotized, the whole point is that you are open to the power of suggestion. And people can implant memories and make you say things. Going.
Yeah. So all this recovered memory stuff, that's really dangerous. Super dangerous. But when you're just doing it for fun, the hypnotist speaks in a soft voice and asks the client to focus on one thing. Maybe it's a swinging watch. Maybe it's just a mark on the wall, and typically walks them through some relaxation exercises, and they'll come into a state of focused relaxation, meaning you're calm, focused, and open to suggestion. And like you said, that is a key factor to hypnotism. From there, depending on the goal, the hypnotist will guide the client through different visualizations or instructions. And there are two main theories about what it means psychologically to be hypnotized. The first one is the altered state theory. It says that hypnosis actually leads to a distinct, different state of consciousness, meaning that your mental processes work differently when you're in this state than when you're like fully awake and you're not necessarily aware of what's happening like you are when you're awake. The second theory is the non-state theory. It says that hypnosis is like role play. Instead of being a distinct state, hypnosis could be the combination of intense focus and expectations about what it means to be hypnotized. AKA, you're getting hypnotized and your brain is well aware of that fact. And it's kind of playing along, or you're playing along subconsciously.
Yeah.
I think maybe it could be a little bit of both, definitely depending on who you are and where you're at on the scale of hypnotizability.
Yeah, there's a big range.
There is, and we'll talk about that more in just a little bit. But like I said before, psychologists really do need more research to get to the bottom of what's going on in our brains when we're hypnotized. We do know that there are certain characteristics that make someone more or less easily hypnotized. And anyone can be hypnotized. It's not a matter of like if you can or can't, since it is voluntary. You have to say, okay, I'm going to do it. It's right. Consent is key. Okay. With everything, including hypnotism. But researchers estimate that 10 to 15% of people are highly hypnotizable. That is such a hard word to say.
Hypnotizable.
Hypnotizable. I don't know. It's just a lot of like sounds at the front of my mouth, I think.
No, that makes sense. Hypnotizable. And reading it too.
Yeah,
I know. Like when you read things, you want to like sound them out, and that's a long word to like.
Am I going to say hypnosis? Am I going to say hypnotize? I don't know what's going on. Now, while 10 to 15% of people are highly hypnotizable, about 20% are hypnotic resistant. So that's probably you. You may not be like totally open to it, not wanting to give up that sense of control. Mm-hmm. And we're not 100% sure what leads to these differences. But one study found
anxiety.
Yeah, that's probably it. Also, I would not be able to do that, I think, at a show, as fun as that sounds. I'd like to go and try it, but being in a one-on-one situation,
it's tough when you're on stage, because it's like, if I fully surrender to this, will I make a fool of myself? Because that's kind of the whole thing. Like, it is all about consent, and like when the hypnotist does it, they're like, you can stop at any time. Like they say that to you while they're hypnotizing you, but then it's like, if I fully give in, like what if I can't stop, you know? Like at least I have those fears.
Yeah, because you've never done it before. And if that's a journey you really want to take, I feel like on stage can be a very scary first place to take that step.
Definitely. And they don't make you do anything bad. At least a good hypnotist wouldn't. But it's like, they make you like cluck like a chicken or like do like silly things. And it's like, that's not my personality. I don't do shit like that.
Yeah. The anxiety says different.
Yeah, definitely.
One study, though, found evidence that might have something to do with a slight variation in brain anatomy that makes someone more or less hypnotizable. These researchers used MRIs to look up participant brains, and they found that those who were more easily hypnotized had a significantly larger rostrum, and that is a part of the brain that is involved with attention. So I thought that was so
people that are hypnotizable have more tension in their brain, like a bigger whatever it is for tension.
Yes, people who are more easily hypnotized.
Are you saying attention and she's saying tension?
Attention.
Oh, I thought you meant tension. I was like, I would think it's the opposite.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, good catch, Alec.
Yeah.
No, attention.
Okay.
So for me, I feel like, I don't know how big my rostrum is, but I'm probably somewhere in the middle because I don't think I would be super susceptible to hypnotism, but I don't think I would be very difficult either. Other scientists took a look at the brainwaves of hypnotized people. They used EEGs, all those dots all over your face with the wires and stuff looking crazy. And they use that to monitor the electrical activity of the subject's brains and their patterns of their brain waves. And then they hypnotize them. They found that hypnosis, especially in highly hypnotizable people, led to an increase in theta waves, which are linked to attention and visualization. So there's that same trend of attention and focus. So hypnosis affects those things, as well as top-down processing. This is the concept that some people use to explain how we perceive reality. And I think that it's extremely valid. The idea is that the top level of information is our memories and our assumptions, which heavily influence our senses. So if we were to talk about hypnobirthing, if you were maybe not practicing that and went in, thinking about your sister's terrible experience giving birth, and you go in with that fear, it might make the pain a bit worse than if you're focusing on other things.
It's like when you are a kid and you're afraid of getting a shot. Like like it hurts before they even put the needle in because you're anticipating it.
And then it's like shattering through your skin when it finally goes through. Yeah. That's how I was at the dentist for the longest time. Oh my God. It was like literally pulling teeth to get me to go to the dentist.
I didn't know you were scared of the dentist.
I was like, I think I went into shock going to the dentist multiple times because it was really traumatic for me. Yeah. I had a lot of stuff done to me and it was just very scary. I had an old kind of mean hygienist for the longest time, and with all of my mouth surgeries and braces and all the things that they did up in here, it was just awful, but eventually I got over it.
And it is a very helpless feeling being there and you can't see what they're doing and you're like on your back.
Yeah, like at least, you know what? Let me stand up.
Right. we should open a standing dentist.
I think that would be fantastic. Let the doctor stay on their stool and then just, go in from the bottom.
You know what would be cool is how at some dentist office they have TVs on the ceiling. Yeah. And you can kind of like watch the TV while you're being worked on. What if they had a camera on your mouth and you could watch what they were doing in your mouth on a TV?
Yeah, maybe that would be good.
That might help some people.
I think it would help some people, but for people like me, it would hurt me.
Okay.
It would be like if I had the Novocaine and then I saw them drilling into my tooth for a cavity, I'd be like, I can feel that.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
it's like
true.
The top-down processing is the same as the magic example you said with the arm. And I'm worried if you saw the tooth it'd be the opposite.
Yeah, fair. I didn't think about that.
I as soon as they tell me, okay, this is going to feel you're going to feel some pressure. I feel like that is used a lot at the dentist, at the gynecologist. It's like such a weird sensation that I'm like, it's not like a brick is pressing down on me. It's not like I'm carrying a bunch of bricks on my back, but it's like this pressure sensation.
And sometimes they say pressure when they mean intense pain, like getting a freaking IUD.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's like if they used a more accurate word, it would probably hurt more.
Except when you get a fucking IUD and it's the worst pain of your life and you black out on the table.
Yep. Yeah, getting an IUD. Thankfully, I know your experience was pretty intense, and I think a lot of people's are. Yeah,
because they don't tell you it's going to hurt, and maybe they're trying to do that suggestibility thing, but they downplay it so much, and then it's the worst pain of your life, and I literally passed out from pain.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Easily. Yeah. The worst part to me is getting it taken out.
That's what I'm scared of. I'm just going to freaking leave mine in.
Yeah, leave it in, girl.
Do what you gotta do. It's not there. I'm so scared. I need to find somewhere that can like put you under to take it out. Cause
you should.
I don't know that they'll do it, but I will pay however much money they want because that was horrible.
Get a back alley surgeon and get whoever did Cardi B's butt.
Yeah, if you are a back alley anesthesiologist, let me know because I'll pay you to rip my IUD out.
Seriously, it's awful. The last time I got a new one in, they took my old one out, which was terrible. They put a new one in, and then she was like, oh, it's not placed right. We need to get an ultrasound. Find out that my uterus is backwards, so instead of leaning forwards, it's leaned like inward, and there's no like medical complications for me. I can still have babies and all that. It's just like one of my abnormalities. And she's like,
not like other girls.
I'm unique, okay? I don't know how else to say it, but my uterus is fucked up. And they take the ultrasound and she's like, yeah, it's not in right. I'm going to see if I can adjust it. She goes in to try and adjust it, which is already awful. And it's scraping. And then she's like, we're going to have to take it out and put in a completely new one.
Oh my God. And they were just, you were awake for all this.
I had to drive home afterwards.
That is so unbelievable.
I know. Guys.
It's fucked up. They should be, I don't understand why
men don't get vasectomies, which can be reversed. Why do we have to carry birth control on our backs?
That and like literally just give me
some numbing spray.
Give numbing, like something. It's so wild that they do it without any. I mean, it probably hurts about as bad as getting a cavity filled without Novocaine would hurt.
For sure.
And they don't do anything.
It induces cramps.
Yeah. Oh, I had horrendous cramps for a week after getting my IUD. I couldn't drive. I couldn't do anything. I was doubled over in pain and I had no prescription medication. And then for a year afterward, I basically had period cramps all the time. They weren't debilitating, but I was constantly in pain.
Yeah.
They don't tell you that before you get it.
Yeah. So if you're thinking about getting an IUD,
I mean, I'm all for birth control. Like, I'm ultimately glad I have it because I am bad at remembering to take the pill. So, like, it was necessary for me. But
thankful, but the process of getting one is
they
just
should
intense.
be more upfront about what happens to you when you get one because it's not pretty.
I think so too. And I would like to know if my practitioner, if she has had one or experienced it before. I think that would help too, because it's like, bitch, if not, let me talk to someone who has.
And my OB was a man, and like he was a good doctor and all that, but like it's like he doesn't know. Like I hope that he's listening to women who are telling him this.
I would hope too.
Who knows?
Well, that was our little soapbox moment about IUDs.
Sorry, everyone. I'm not sorry to the men listening, though, because you need to hear this.
Yeah, you really do. And you need to allow access to abortions all over this motherfucking country. So, anywho, back to top-down processing. There are a lot of experiments that show, and I would say prove, this effect is real. For example, there's this wine experiment in which researchers had different groups drink the same wine. the same exact wine. It was cheap wine at that, but different groups were told different things. One group was the control. One group was told it was expensive ass wine, and the other group was told that it was cheap wine. Those, of course, in the expensive group enjoyed the wine much more than any of the other groups. And those who were in the cheap wine did not enjoy it nearly as much as anyone else.
That does not surprise me. I don't think that there's any difference.
Yeah,
and I think
like,
that people
okay.
are just lying to themselves
Yeah,
when they say there is.
I can't tell, and I'd rather keep it that way. Any wine heads who are like, oh my God, no, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I mean, there's wine that tastes bad, but there's wine that tastes bad that's cheap and that's expensive.
Yes.
Like, I don't think that it makes a difference, really.
Listen, I know what I like, and it's boxed.
It is a Nighthawk Black Buddha box.
It is, in fact,
pairs well
cheap.
with everywhere.
Okay, so the top-down processing also explains the placebo effect, which was first thought of, or at least discovered, when Franz Mesmer from our last episode was treating his patients with mesmerism. And since a hypnotized person is more open to suggestions, expectations can be tweaked and can change how they see the world. Researchers wanted to see how hypnotized people performed on the Stroop test. Do you know what the Stroop test is?
It sounds familiar, but I don't know what it is.
You probably know what it is, but not by the name. So the Stroop test is when they'll show you a color word, such as yellow.
Oh, yeah.
But the
And you
font
have
is
to
in green.
say the
You have
thing
to
that
say
it
the
spells,
color.
or
It depends on what they want you to do. So they wanted to test the varying levels of openness of hypnotism and the results of the Stroop test. So they monitored a bunch of different people who were highly hypnotizable, not really at all, and everything in between. And they monitored their brain using the fMRI scanner, and then they gave them a very specific suggestion before the test. They said, the words you see in the fMRI scanner are gibberish, and they had to identify the color shown as quickly as possible. So what they're asking them to do is ignore the words, ignore the letters, just tell us what the color is. So they did that, and then a couple days after the hypnosis, so they did not test them while they were being hypnotized, the subjects came back, and the highly hypnotizable people were much faster and more accurate at picking out the colors of the words. And there were measurable differences in their brain activities as well. The extrastriate cortex, which is responsible for decoding written words, did not become activated in those who were highly hypnotizable.
Okay, so they're able to kind of shut it off.
Yeah, they just turned it off. They're like, I just need to know the color. That's it. That's all. Their brains also didn't show any conflict in the task, such as being like, do I decide on what it says or what the color is? Unlike those who are hypnotic resistant. And boo, 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 boo. Okay, our last study here about hypnosis. Another study found that hypnosis can actually block memories. It may not be able to recover memories, but the subjects in this study watched a 45-minute film and came back a week later to be hypnotized. They were given the suggestion to forget the film when they heard a specific cue and have their memory restored with a different cue. The participants were hooked up to an fMRI scanner again and given the cue to forget. They were given a test and couldn't remember details of the movie, but could remember details of the room they watched it in. Memory-related regions of their brains weren't as active as those in the control group who had not been hypnotized, and this effect is called post-hypnotic anesthesia and is actually being studied today to figure out did I say anesthesia?
Yeah.
It's called post-hypnotic amnesia.
Oh, okay. I think my brain filled in amnesia.
Okay.
But yeah.
But it's being used to actually study regular old amnesia.
Okay.
And that's the last study.
Wow.
So throughout my research, like I said, hypnosis and meditation are sounding more and more alike. According to mindcoachingaustralia.com.au, Hypnosis and meditation are both trance states that result in similar brainwave patterns. Hypnosis uses the guidance of a therapist, whereas meditation is usually done independently. Hypnosis is a trance-like state of heightened awareness.
Okay.
So I think they're very similar, obviously different if you're thinking about the Hollywood version of hypnosis, but it is a real thing. You can use that top-down processing to hack your senses a little bit. You can hypnotize pain away. It's still being studied to this day. And I'm really excited to see what researchers and scientists come up with about this, because I think that it could be a great tool, especially the non-junk science versions of hypnosis.
Definitely.
So if you want to learn how to hypnotize, just go to WikiHow. It's like 4 steps. You just like turn the lights down low, put on some nice music or no music at all, and then just hyper focus on something.
There you go. Bam.
My sources are Top 5 Facts About Hypnosis by Watch Mojo, The History of Hypnosis by Hypnosis Toronto, The Science of Hypnosis by SciShow, genealogytrails.com for Kansas Trails, American Psychological Association.org, Self-Hypnosis, Not Hypnosis, and Reader's Digest.
Thank you for that learning journey. I feel hypnotized by you.
Oh, you should write a song about it. Biggie, 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 can't you see?
Someone already wrote that song.
Remix. Weird Cat Yankovic.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. Tell a friend. Follow us on social media. And we will be putting out new Patreon episodes soon for our patrons there. We're excited to have you there. Please join our little community. It's so fun, and it really does keep this podcast going. But as always, thank you for listening. We love you. And 3, 2, 1.
Class dismissed.
Great episode, y'all.